Hi there, it's Carl Irwin, the Common Magician, and I've got something interesting to show you. I've got a deck of cards here, shuffled, borrowed, and used, yada, 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 from a shelf, game shelf in a living room somewhere in someone's house. It's just a kind of a naturally occurring box of cards in a natural environment. Sitting on the table, haven't even touched it yet, don't know what state it's in, and I say, hey, you over there, could you please cut a group of cards off the top, maybe a quarter to a third, and put them in your hand. They cut the amount, and then I say, could you please count the cards that you have? Deal them and count the number. And they count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21. 21 cards. And I say, a good card magician or just a good card player, someone who deals with cards a lot, they're able to count or rather cut an exact number of cards, and they always know what it is. They can cut, they can count it in their mind just by feel, by weight, and by kind of the size of it. They know how many there are. Not only that, but they have the sensitivity to count an exact number of cards on purpose. For example, I'm going to try to match you. If I just cut a group of cards and I count them, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, exactly the same number of cards. In fact, I can do that again, but this time what I'm going to do is I'm going to try to count, or rather cut, an exact number, one short. Let's count or cut 20 cards. See if I can do that. If I cut right there, it should be 20 cards. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, and 20. And of course, we can go back and forth like this and count exact numbers of cards and whatnot. So this is something that looks an awful lot like one of those kinds of feats that people like to do with a memorized stack, right? You have a memorized stack, and from the properties of the stack and knowing where the cards are positioned for number, magicians like to do the card cutting, the dead cutting kind of presentation. So this is that same idea, the same kinds of presentations, the same kinds of feats, but it's done with a completely shuffled deck in use using crimp, just using a crimp. So obviously the way this works is I'm crimping so that I can always get to a particular spot, and I know, because that crimp is in there, exactly how many cards are above it or below it or whatever. So the way I presented here is that the spectator cuts, they count. As they're counting, what I do is I take the rest of the cards and I put a really good convex bridge on the top. So I take it back under the cover of the hands. I just give the top of the deck a squeeze like that, and I put a really good convex bridge very, very quickly, and I set that aside. And then whenever I get their cards back, whatever they counted, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19 cards, I can set that on top, and now I've got the exact same 19 cards differentiated by that crimp that I can cut to. So then it's just a matter of overhand running a few cards and throwing them back on top, appearing to shuffle the deck, false cut, and I'm still in the same state. So now I can very quickly and briskly just cut forward, and then I can get exactly the same number. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19. Now, for the next thing is what I could do, just do a little bit of math. If I'm running cards, I could run one card to the bottom, and then I can cut one less. And I can sort of demonstrate the precision at which I can cut cards. Not only can I match their number, but I can actually call it ahead of time off by one and do that. Additionally, I could run cards to the top, overhand shuffle a couple to the top, in jog, run off, and then throw that to the bottom. And I can cut against my bridge crimp as long as it stays in play. And if I lay it in pretty heavy, I can rely on that pretty well. Another one that you can use, that I use sometimes, is the Martin Nash Infinity Crimp. So I'm not going to teach that here, but the Infinity Control, Infinity Crimp works pretty well for that. It creates more of a breather kind of crimp rather than a bridge. But I find I depend more on bridges these days more than anything, laying a bridge in. That just comes from what I learned playing around with ace cutting. and my way of doing that in an impromptu setting and laying bridges in for dead cutting. So that's a crimp. I want to talk a little bit more about crimps though, because I was already going to do this, but it was brought up on the last video about crimping a key, which is really what we just did here. We crimped a key. Crimping a key versus crimping the card of interest. And the reason why I crimped the key rather than the card of interest is that, and I don't think it comes across well on the video, but there is a presentational difference to doing that. So imagine in the last video, shuffle deck in use, they think of a card, I spread, they take out the card they're thinking of, they show it around, they have it. And then what I do is I give them the cards. They find a spot where they want to put it. They put it in. They drop it on. I take the cards back. And from there, I can do a whatever kind of a shuffle. And then we do the equivoque location. Keep in mind, right up until the point where I take the cards back, I'm not in control. They are the ones that put their card into the deck at a place of their choosing. When you're crimping a card of interest, you can't do that. And for some people, that may be important. It might be vital to have that kind of claim that you can rest on as you conclude the presentation. Remember, you thought of a card, you took it out, you put it back in. I didn't even touch the cards, and then we spread them, and you found it on your own. As opposed to this sort of presentation, which is more akin to crimping, which is same kind of trick, but I say, go ahead, take it out. The one you're thinking of, they take it out, they look at it, and then what I do is I have to do this. I say, I either have to motion, it's better to do this, just reach out and then they hand it to you, or you say, give me the card, right? But this moment is very suspicious. It's good enough. I mean, I do these kinds of crimps, right? Where you take the card back, right? That's the one they have, 2 of clubs, and then you place it into the deck. And then, of course, the benefit, of course, is that you can do a real table wash. You can have them shuffle. You can relinquish control. But keep in mind that if I avoid putting it in the deck myself, I don't need to do all this stuff, right? They're the ones that put it in. There's no suspicion. I don't have to go through this procedure. But now, since I've done that, I can continue on and I can still find the card, right? I can get them down to this point here and equivoque force back there, 2 of clubs. That is a way to do it, crimping the card of interest, but it means that you have to touch it. There is a video out there. I was just reading Joshua Jay's book. I got it from my local library, my online digital library, through Hoopla, and I listened to it as I was traveling recently. And he talks about the worst day of his professional career being whenever he did a show on Hoda and Kathy Lee, right? Today's Show, their segment of it, and a number of years ago. And I tried to find that video, but I found a couple of times that he was on there. There's one where he's dealing with Kathy Lee, and it's one of those, I think he was doing a dollar bill trick or something. It was something with a torn corner of a dollar bill. And he reaches out to take the bill at the moment of reveal, and Kathy Lee just flips a wig, right? She goes, but wait, no. Right? She didn't want him to touch the bill. That was something that was required. He had to touch, or was the corner, I guess it was, whatever he was working with. He had to do what he had to do there, but that moment was just cut off. And this is Joshua Jay we're talking about, right? This is a really seasoned professional, even at that time. If you can have them do the automatic placement using a crimped key, you get that one-up level, right? You get a big presentational advantage if they're the ones doing as much work as possible. That's why I showed that other method, not crimping the card. But yes, of course, crimping the card of interest, that's a whole, really, you could just say jazzing with a shuffle deck in use can be crimping and crimping only. That could be the exclusive method by which you do a whole bunch of things. is just crimping cards to keep track of slugs and stacks and spaces and selected cards and thought of cards that are taken out and put back in or whatever. Crimping alone can be your answer to all of this, right? You can have, well, with the memorized deck, there's so many amazing things to do. Or on the other side, you can say, well, with crimping, there's like a million amazing things you can do with just a regular deck, just that and that alone. And, you know, I think most card magicians spend some time playing with that, usually very early. As soon as they learn about that method, I think a lot of magicians go through that phase where they crimp everything. But that can be your exclusive method. I mean, you can really just use various types of crimps and controls, open controls, and do a whole assortment of amazing things with a shuffled deck of cards that are diverse, right? Dead cutting, card location, card control, slug control, relinquishing the cards for shuffling, you know, table washes, all kinds of stuff. Ace locations, four of a kinds. You can really do a lot. You can even acquire stacks over time by setting a key crimp that you can stack on top of just as a reference that you can get back to. So that as you're going through the procedure of mixing cards and noodling around with them, you have a location and a slug that is being maintained that you're aware of, and then you just cut that to where you need it, and then do your presentation using that slug that's been put together against the crimp. So crimps are extremely valuable, and of course you can crimp the card of interest. That is definitely a way to go. I just wanted to point out that crimping the key instead of the card of interest, crimping the card adjacent allows a lot of presentational freedom that crimping the card of interest does not. So there's that. Anyway, good luck with that. Until the next one, happy magicking.